So, hello, good afternoon. Today, I want to talk about investigative SEO. You will hear all about what this is and why it's so important in a few minutes. But really, it's about how to reverse engineer the SERPs. And whoever did the programming here did such a good job because I think some of the questions that people were asking Casper a few minutes ago, this talk feeds so nicely on from that. So, here's the thing, right? If you don't rank on Google, it's because your competitors have already figured out how to win. As SEOs, we don't talk about winning anywhere nearly as often as we should be. Now, SEO is like a game. If I think back to when I was a child, when I was an early teen, I spent probably way too many hours playing a real-time strategy game called Warcraft 2. And, well, thinking back, it set me up so well for a career in SEO. Why? Well, you had to scout the map. If you wanted to win, you had to start by looking at what are other people doing? What are the other teams in the game doing? You'd send peasants in, you'd send zeppelins in to scout out what the others were doing. And then you'd use that insight to adapt your own strategy. Sounds like SEO, right? You then use that insight to outplay your opponent. You take this insight and go, what are they doing that we're not? And how can we use that to our advantage? And I strongly stand by the fact that the smartest way to win in SEO is to reverse engineer the strategy of your competitors and beat them at their own game. To really take a long, hard, investigative look at what's the landscape, what's the SERP landscape. But too few SEOs actually do this. But one thing you've probably noticed, and it comes up in conversations I have time and time again, is that some SEOs seem to win time and time again. Some SEOs seem to be able to rank any site for anything, whilst others are left scrambling, scratching their heads, hoping they get lucky, and sometimes ranking. Well, here's why. It's not just about having a better process. You can't expect to just roll out what you believe is a better process and win at SEO. There's so much more to it than that. It's about knowing how to figure out how to win. As SEOs, we often don't have all of the answers. We can't look at something and say, this is the reason why this page is ranking, why this isn't. But we sure as hell know how to figure that out. And that's what I want you to take away from today. I'm going to talk you through how you can figure out exactly how to learn, how to find out why another result is outranking yours on the SERPs. When you can do this, this works whatever the keyword, whatever the industry. I think as SEOs, we often get these questions on, okay, great, well, you've ranked an e-commerce store. Can you rank a SaaS website? Can you rank a travel site? Can you rank this? Can you rank that? When you know the processes on how to get investigative and reverse engineer the SERPs, this is completely removed from any industry. It's about knowing how to figure out why certain results are winning. But also, and my personal bugbear here, the best SEOs don't just follow best practice. We're very lucky in this industry to find that there's so much information online. Some of it's great, some of it's good, some of it's not so great. But the best SEOs build out their strategies based on what's actually working, what's actually happening on the live SERPs. As Casper said about 10 minutes ago, if you're only just reading into a Google update now and trying to react to that, you're too late. You need to be forward thinking and looking at what do we need to do to, one, protect ourselves, but also drive growth going forwards. But more than anything else, SEOs who win do not guess. It's so easy to say, I read this on LinkedIn. I saw this on X. I read a case study where this brand did this. But that's just guesswork. We can't just apply something that worked before and assume it's going to work again. And really, to me, that's the difference between just competing and winning. And as SEOs, we need to get into this almost obsessive habit of how do we win? Hey, look, it's business. We're here to win. We're here to get those top ranking results that drive traffic, that drive revenue. So start thinking about it like a game. Start becoming so incredibly obsessed with beating everybody else that you do what it takes to make that happen. Here's a typical SEO framework. Fixing tech issues, optimizing existing content, creating new content, building links and authority signals. Of course, to sort of caveat, following on from Casper's talk, when I talk about building links, I'm talking about earning links with PR. I'm a big advocate of using PR, not building or buying spammy links. And look, I can't fault this as a typical SEO process. And it looks pretty solid, right? Well, at very, very top level, yes. But not really. You can't just do what everybody else is doing and expect to win. SEO often gets brought into this mindset that go and optimize a few title tags, write a bit of content. I loved the question about AI content in the previous talk about if my competitors are doing it, why can't I? Well, why do you want to be in that same pool as everybody else? They might be winning today, but will they be winning tomorrow? The answer is almost certainly no. But what I want you to think about here as SEOs, as marketers, is are you playing to play or are you playing to win? This is a quote that was shared with me a couple of years ago, and I've used it time and time again. And it came from a lady called Leslie Sim, who expanded on this, saying, make sure you're playing the real game, not some more complicated game you've made up for yourself. Leslie was not an SEO. Leslie was a coach for the Singaporean Ultimate Frisbee team, of all things. Now, sounds random, but hear me out. The whole concept of this, and there's some great articles online that Leslie's authored about this topic. And it's all around the concept that when we're actually doing, in her case, playing Ultimate Frisbee, you want to make it seem like you're doing something impressive, very, very skillful. But surely really all you want is to win. And we are so guilty of this as SEOs. We will fixate on shiny new objects, whether it's AI, whether it's Python, whether it's whatever the new trend is. You do not need to know Python to be a great SEO, yet 2 or 3 years, yes, thank you. But 2 or 3 years, 2 or 3 years ago, we went through this process of everyone going, you have to learn Python to be a great SEO. For what exactly? You do not need that. You are playing a more complicated game that you've made up for yourself at the expense of doing the basics right. And any Brits in here are going to laugh at this. That is my beloved Blackburn Rovers, who are not doing very well right now, despite we should be. Are you actually good enough to compete and win? Most website owners need to step back and take a long, hard look at their sites and say, are we actually good enough to be that top-ranked result? I would say 9 out of 10 of the sites that I work with, that I speak to, they are not good enough. They are doing the basics, but they're not that best result. And these basics aren't good enough anymore. We can't keep doing those very, very low-level basic things that worked 10, 15 years ago and expect them to still work today. And I want you to think of this as, if you're not creating a better result than what already ranks at the top of the SERPs, why would Google rank you higher? There's already a result there at the top of the SERPs that's average, that's okay. You need to do something better. That something could be one of a number of different things. But the reality is here is that you don't win by ticking boxes in SEO. Yet so often we see SEO referred to as a checklist exercise, as, sorry if anyone is here from Yoast, a traffic light system. That is not SEO. That is ticking a few boxes that apply at very, very broad level. You win by being better. But I know what you're going to ask me when working with clients, when working with the team. The question that follows that is, but what does being better actually mean? Does it mean better content? Better authority? Better tech foundations? Better UX? Well, I'm very, very sorry to say, but it depends. Now, yes, as SEOs, we are known for a bit of a joke around saying it depends. But the honest answer is that it often does. The reason why one site ranks isn't the reason why another site ranks. But what we have to do is know how to figure this out. And that is exactly what I want to teach you today. I want to talk you through this process of how to reverse engineer the SERPs and figure out exactly why another site is outranking your own. But as a very, very quick introduction as to who I am and why I'm qualified to talk about this, hi, I'm James. I'm Managing Director and founder of Digitaloft, an agency over in the UK. I've been doing SEO now for coming up 16 years. So I've worked in the industry through Panda, through Penguin, through Hummingbird, through all these infamous updates. But despite running an agency, I'm still very, very much a hands-on practical SEO. I would hate the thought of doing SEO from a distance, not actually being hands-on. It's actually a really exciting time to be an SEO as we see AI coming in, as we see so many different changes. But unlike many SEOs who've somewhat specialized, a lot of SEOs have gone into content, into tech SEO, into PR and link acquisition. I will hold my hands up and say I am very much a full stack SEO, strategy level. I'm all about figuring out what you need to do. Do you need to be doing content? Have you got tech issues? And that's my experience. That's what I bring to the table. I've previously spoken at lots and lots of events all around the world, SMX, PubCon, Brighton SEO, and I'm very, very pleased to be in Lithuania today for the first time. One of our developers on our team is actually from Lithuania, so I've heard some very, very nice things, very, very excited to go and explore the city, and yeah, delighted to be here. But back to SEO. SEO has a choice paralysis problem with tools. We have far, far, far too much available in the form of tools. I ran a quick poll on my LinkedIn at the end of last week and saw that almost 7 in 10 SEOs are using up to 5 different tools at any one time. Don't get me wrong, on one hand it's great. We've got access to so much data, but we often get so far bogged down in what the tools are telling us. But here's the thing. The answers on how to win are not in the tools. Everybody has access to SEMrush. Everybody has access to Ahrefs. They're not telling us anything other than the data behind. Yet we so often take to these tools to try to figure out what to do as SEOs. Don't get me wrong. They are valuable, incredibly valuable. And as SEOs, they are time savers. But they don't give us the answers. They just give us data. The real answers are on the SERPs. Google is literally telling you what it wants to reward. So why do we all spend so much time bogged down deep in tools, doing lengthy audits that analyze Screaming Frog data, SEMrush data? They all have their place. But at strategy level, the answers are on the SERPs. So then if the answers are on the SERPs, how do you go and find them? That's exactly what I'm going to talk you through over the next 10 or 15 minutes. And we do this through what I call investigative SEO. Going deep into looking at the SERPs, looking at what Google is rewarding right now and figuring out how we can go one better. And to start to take you through this process, it starts by knowing what already ranks and what the landscape looks like. But don't start doing this as an SEO. The most valuable task anybody can do who's starting to look at SEO on a new client project, a new site, is to look at the SERPs in the way a browser would. Forget SEO for a minute. Look at this from a user perspective and start to ask yourself, why is that result better than that result? Why would Google be rewarding this? Before you get anywhere near SEO fundamentals, start to question the reasons why, from a user perspective. Step out of the SEO bubble for a minute, and we have to remember that the users are the audience. We might be optimizing for Google, for rankings. No, we should be optimizing for users. Yes, Google doesn't always get it right. We saw that with the helpful content update, which I believe in many ways was justified, but I think there was a lot of fallout of businesses who were caught in the crossfire. But as a general rule, the SERPs are an accurate representation of what Google thinks users want to see. If you don't know what you're competing against, how can you get anywhere close to building a strategy that helps you to win, that does anything other than best practice checklist SEO? But the big thing here, when we're talking about the SERP landscape, is that Google is no longer 10 blue links. This screenshot that I found, no, I'm not sad enough to keep a screenshot for 11 years, was from the Google SERPs in 2014 for a search of best steak restaurant in London. In 2014, yes, we were starting to see some map results, but they were very, very basic compared to what they are now. But Google was essentially 10 blue links. Today, though, what we have is a very, very, very different SERP. Yet I often feel that so many SEOs still think that Google is these 10 blue links. They don't look beyond how do we rank on the old school organic listings. But if you don't know what you're competing amongst, you are missing out on so much opportunity. Here's that same SERP 2 days ago. Very, very, very different. And that's not even half of the different SERP features that we have available. The SERPs have changed so much and they continue to do so. Yet, so many of us as SEOs, I think we pretend it's happening. We talk about Google taking away our traffic. No, Google's taking away traffic from the 10 blue links. But there's still huge opportunities. Today, we see AI overviews, probably the biggest talking point in the last year in the SEO industry. I think it's too soon to say the long-term impact this will have. But AI overviews are here and they're here to stay. We have to be thinking, how do we optimize for them? How do we get featured within them? Featured snippets. That sort of, dare I call it, the enemy of an SEO, or the enemy of an SEO whose site was previously ranking in, or is still ranking in the number one organic result, is where you have AI overviews and a featured snippet. Again, featured snippets. We see merchant listings. Google is giving e-commerce stores the ability to rank on the SERPs for free. These are not paid listings. But only in the last month or two have we really started to see people talking about, you have to do this. You are missing out on huge opportunities if you're not. People also ask, the image pack, a video pack, product sites, people also buy from, the local pack, discussions and forums. Google is taking up so much SERP real estate. And even looking just at AI overviews alone, the average AI overview is, according to a Bright Edge study from last December, is taking up over 800 pixels of space at the top of the SERPs below the ads. Now, when we consider that the average above the fold space is about 600 pixels, we can see that this position number 1 has dropped so far down. Now, as I say, AI overviews are changing so often. I saw something on X this morning saying that it looks like Google have made some further changes to AI overviews where they're promoting links to their own results all of a sudden. Again, it's too early to know that long-term impact. But what we sure as hell know is that Google is not 10 blue links. So we have to be thinking about optimizing for more than this. Those brands that win are building strategies that let them feature in as many SERP features as possible. Any brand who is competing on a certain SERP can show in the SERP features. It's just most of us are stuck in 2014 where we're thinking, how do I get this page ranking on the 10 blue links? Move beyond that. But we also need to be looking at what type of pages rank. Again, we're given clues on the SERPs here. Is it guides, product pages, category pages, service pages, home pages? The type of page that Google is ranking is a massive, massive clue to what users want. Here's a couple of examples for this SERP, which is a SERP I ran over in the UK on a search for new boilers. Position 1, position 2, position 3. They are all the same type of page. Step down to position 7 or 8, and we see an e-commerce category page. Google has enough data to understand that for certain queries, users want to see certain things. An e-commerce category page, I don't believe for the term new boiler, has the intent. The intent behind that query is that a searcher wants almost a service provider. They're looking for someone to come and install a new boiler. They don't just want to buy one to fit themselves. But if we hadn't looked at the SERPs and started to think what sort of pages, what page types are ranking, we could easily go in and say, we can rank for that. We need to know what is and isn't possible. What SERPs can we or can't we compete in? But also, what type of businesses rank? Are they like-for-like businesses to your own? Are they broader businesses where the offering of that certain keyword is part of their wider offering? Are they mega brands such as Amazon? Or are they content, news, or affiliate sites? Starting to think in detail, and notice I've not gone anywhere near a tool. I've simply looked at the results to see what type of brands, what type of businesses, and what type of pages are ranking. The most common reason why people don't rank is that what they're trying to rank or trying to rank for doesn't align with who they are and what they do. But these are what I call our SERP competitors. Whenever we start working with a new client, one of the things we will always ask them is, who are your competitors? I would say in 8 or 9 out of 10 occasions, they are giving us brand competitors. They are telling us that this brand or this brand are our no, they're like-for-like businesses. They're not SERP competitors. They're usually not who they're competing against on the SERPs. We need to know this. We need to know what we're competing against. Why? So we can reverse engineer what they're doing that we're not. It's all about starting to build a clear picture of the landscape that we're operating within to allow us to be strategic. Anyone who's seen me talk before will know that I am very, very vocal about the fact that most SEOs are tactical, not strategic. We need to be strategic. We can't just go and prescribe a couple of tactics and say, okay, we're going to optimize this page. We're going to build some internal links. We're going to write a piece of content for this. unless we can answer why we're doing that. So let's say we've looked at who and what. How do we actually figure out who is winning and why they're winning? Now, as a little bit of a disclaimer here, I am going to assume that your site isn't being held back by serious technical issues. We will be here all day if I ran through every little thing that could mean you're not ranking. I'm looking on a macro level here. I'm looking at the reasons why a page or a site isn't ranking, assuming there are no serious issues. So if you've got a no index to your pages, if you've got canonicals pointing, that's not what I'm here to talk to you about. But hopefully you can use the tools I mentioned before to find those things. They'll help you to get on a level playing field, but they won't help you to win. And what you will notice as I go through the points that I'm about to share is that there's no one solution. What I'm not here to do is tell you the exact reasons why your site or your site is being outranked by somebody else. The one thing I want you to take away from this is the mindset of being investigative, of taking the time to consume the SERPs, to look at other rankings, other results, and work backwards from that to say, why am I not ranking and they are? But what I will do is point you in the direction of the most common things to look for. And the first of these is intent. If your page does not align with what Google's rewarding, somewhat an extension of what I showed you about the page types ranking, but we can also still have the page type correct and the content actually not really align with what people want to see, you are not going to rank. The number of discussions I've had over the past 15 years with in-house marketers, in-house teams, who say, yeah, but we don't want that page to rank. We want our category page to rank. If Google's ranking informational content, you ain't ranking your category page, however hard you try. But maybe the big one, and something that I've been spending quite a bit of time lately doing, is looking at the page level topical alignment. And AI is actually really, really great at doing this. When I'm talking about page level topical alignment, in other words, I'm saying, is there lots of fluff and filler content on that page? Or are you actually staying true to what a user wants to see? ChatGPT is actually fantastic at helping you identify this. Copy in the content, don't let it crawl, because sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. Sometimes ChatGPT will pretend it's crawled your page. Copy and paste the text content from competitor pages and your own, and ask ChatGPT to critique which page closest aligns to the topic and which are further. Almost always, this will align with the rankings. This will be very, very closely reflected, and you will get feedback on this section is not relevant. This section strays too far from the core. When I talk about being investigative, this is what I mean. Getting really, really deep and going, I might think that content's good enough, but how does it compare with what's outranking me? Query count is another great one that's not talked about anywhere nearly often enough. The top pages that are ranking for any query, go and have a look on SEMrush or Ahrefs and see how many queries those pages are ranking for. This will often give you a really great insight into how, not broad the topic is, but how sufficient the page content is. Is it ranking for a small handful of queries, or is it actually being shown across all the variants? And then we get into site-wide topical coverage. Long gone are the days where you can go and publish a piece of content on a brand new topic and expect to win. I don't want to get into the argument or the debate of is or isn't topical authority a thing. I believe there is some form of topical authority. I don't think it's as simple as many people make it up to be. I also believe it's a combination of on-page and off-page signals. The simplest way you can do this is take your head term, the primary keyword that you're targeting, and go and run a site search within title on Google using a search operator. This will show you very, very quickly how many pieces of content those top ranked pages, those top ranked competitors have on the topic. An example I gave here, looking at car insurance SERPs over in the UK, Compare the Market has 300, almost 400 pieces of content around the topic of car insurance. If you've only got 10, you haven't covered the topic in enough depth. I said I believe Google has some way of understanding topical authority. And in last year's Google algorithm leak, what we found was references to something called site focus score, site radius, using embeddings to essentially look at the similarity between pieces of content on a site to determine how similar they are to a core topic. Again, that would be a whole talk in itself, but feel free to go and do some further reading into that. It's fascinating, and it's probably simpler than most SEOs would like to believe in terms of topical authority. And no, you don't need to be going and creating random pages that Google would never expect your site to have, that a reader would never, ever have. Without naming names, there are certain people who claim you have to go and cover every single variant under the sun to build topical authority. No, you don't. Not a chance. You need relevant content that goes sufficient depth, and you need relevant links. That is probably about the extent of topical authority. And then information gain. Information gain is essentially what value does your page offer beyond what already ranks. Again, if you're not offering anything new, why would Google rank you above the competition? First-hand experience, comments and quotes from experts, original data. Information gain is not going and adding 200 more words to a page because the top result has 200 more words than you. Not at all. Information gain could be data points, it could be quotes. It's something that nobody else has or is doing. Make it really, really hard for them to just copy what you're doing. And I hate to say this, but on Page Basics, the amount of sites that I look at, and the honest answer to why they're not ranking is because they haven't got the keyword in the title tag, or their H1 is their logo, or the absolute basics. Come on, we're in 2025. It's not 2010. But actually, if we don't get the basics right, how can we expect to win at the bigger level things? I realize I'm covering a lot. I will share my deck afterwards. But click-through rate insights. Advanced Web Ranking has a really great tool that brings in so much data to showcase what the average click-through rate is in certain industries, in certain territories. Go compare this to your own in Search Console and look at how you compare. Do you have an above or a below average click-through rate? If you're lower, you probably need to do something about it. We know that Google is using things like click-through rate and user signals as ranking factors. If you're below that average, you've probably got some work to do, make your result more clickable. And then we come on to things like internal links and site structure. Again, we're looking at every minute detail of, is your page being internally linked to from supporting content, relevant content like the competition is? So many times I've seen this where a site isn't winning because actually it's almost existing in silo. Internal links are not just about passing link juice, they're about passing contextual signals first and foremost. And then page experience and UX. I was thinking about whether to include this on its own or as part of information gain, but user signals are so important. User signals are being used by Google. So as a user, look at how easy it is for people to consume your content, to browse your site compared to the competition. Schema, again, start to look, what are your competitors doing that you're not? EEAT signals, again, are you publishing content from proven, experienced experts, or are you just making somebody up and hoping that you can attribute to them? EAT is not about launching author pages. It's about building your reputation. Links direct to the page. Links still matter. I will not have anybody say otherwise. There's so much evidence that this is the case. But look at links to the page, as well as site-wide links. These are often different things. Site-wide links are often the site authority as a whole. The links to the page are citing that individual piece of content, that individual page, as a great result. But we then also have to consider the relevance of the links the site has earned. Long gone are the days where we can just build any old link and see it have an impact. That is exactly the type of manipulative link building that Casper was talking about just before. But then look at, what are the sources of these links? Where are top-ranked sites getting their links from, and are you able to earn better links? Often, if it's a big brand, you're going to have a lot of work to do. Link velocity, the rate at which you're acquiring links. And the big one is brand searches. Can we please stop debating whether or not brand is a ranking factor? It 100% is. If you are competing against brands that are getting tens of thousands of searches and you're not, I'm sorry, but you're going to struggle to compete going forward. Look at the bigger picture, the out of home, the offline marketing. How can you build a brand, not just a site that ranks on the SERPs? And I am very, very nearly done. But we then have to go and understand the competitive gaps between you and the winners. We need to ask ourselves, and when I'm doing investigative SEO, I will go through all those things I've been looking at. I will look at everything I can, and I will start to make notes under all the different sections: links, content, tech, site experience. And then I'm starting to bring it together to cross-reference with my own site. What are they doing that I'm not? From there, we can build out a hypothesis. We believe that this site or this site is outranking us because. Then we can go and test it. That can help us develop a plan to win on the SERPs. But we don't just want to win. We want to keep winning. We have to build a moat. And that means doing something different and better. But my biggest piece of advice in this is, don't think you have to go and fix everything. Fix what's going to help you to win. I can't tell you what that is, but you can go and find it. The answers are there. And then drop your tasks into an effort and impact matrix. You want to focus on the low effort, high impact tasks first, and you will see gains. This is a marathon, not a sprint. There are tasks you need to keep chipping away at. But if you become so obsessed with winning, you can focus your efforts on going, what do we need to do over time to win? But you then have to think, how can we be a better result than the competition? I said a couple of minutes ago that we don't need to fix everything. We don't. But we need to be thinking not just how we can compete better than the other results today, but how can we go one better? Is that building a bigger brand? Is that building more authority signals? Is that building out information gain that competitors will struggle to replicate? These are the things that often don't scale. But to wrap up from me, you have to keep measuring, monitoring, and adapting. The SERPs do not stand still. SEO isn't static. Your competitors will be trying to win just like you are. Be the brand that wants to win more. The SERPs will shift. But if you're not looking at them, how will you spot what that is? Keep a close eye on your highest priority SERPs, and you will see these shifts in real time. Rank trackers will not tell you why the rankings changed. You'll see that you dropped a rank, dropped 10 ranks, but they won't tell you why. One of our clients 6 months ago started to see ranking drops for non-localized queries. Looking at the SERPs showed us that the SERPs had shifted to local, location-specific results. If we weren't looking at the SERPs in real time, we would not have spotted that. A rank tracker would not have told us that. So get out of the tools and get onto the SERPs. It will help you to win. Be the result that everybody else wants to copy, and set your sights on building the best result for a particular query on the web. That should be how you do SEO. Looking at how can we produce the best result, not just today, not just copying the competitors. Let your competitors use AI content. They will not be there in a year's time. And remember, there's always a way to win, even if it's mega brands who are competing against you. You don't win by fixing everything. You don't win by being in the tools. You win by knowing where to focus. So if you only take one thing away from today, it's to go and find a query. Spend an hour investigating why other results are outranking you. And remember that tools give you data, the SERPs give you answers. Reverse engineer the SERPs, find the gaps, be the better results, and you will win. So it's over to you guys. Go and do that. SERP after SERP, month after month, and you will win. If you do what it takes to be the best result on the web, give Google no choice other than to rank your site, not the competition. So thank you very much. We are just about wrapping up for lunch, but if anyone does have any questions, please feel free to ask. I will also happily stay around for a little bit into the lunch break if you want to. So are these the questions we've had put on? Okay, perfect. Okay, the first question, I'm going to go through these. I will go through them as quickly as I can, but if anyone does want to come and ask me, please feel free. If your brand already ranks well in organic search results, is it beneficial to bid on your brand name? Yes, 100%. You need to think of brand and sort of performance as different channels. Brand bidding is something that I think you should be thinking of as it's a brand channel. If you don't bid on that result, somebody else will. You don't want your competitors near your brand search. But what I will say on this, and I've been doing a lot of talking recently about brand search. Brand search is not just ranking for your brand name. Brand search is also yourself versus the competition, yourself product features, yourself alternatives. Don't let the competition own your semi-branded SERPs. In the long run, you want to own them all organically. Supplement that with paid as and where you need to. If we need to stay ahead of Google Trends, can you share the top 3 which will impact SEO in the next 12 months, but also any bigger changes too? Okay, the first thing that any SEO should do to stay ahead is to focus on building your reputation. Don't just look at links. Don't just look at content. Don't just look at some of the tactics that as SEOs we've tried to break down into little things. Set your sights on building your reputation. That is essentially what EEAT is. Focus on building your reputation. Yes, that means links. Yes, that means producing content. Yes, that means creating spokespeople in the media. But that is ultimately what the number one thing you need to do. Build your reputation. And probably joint number one, I realise I'm cheating a bit here, is to build your brand. As SEOs, go and sit down with your brand team, your paid team, your social team, your out-of-home team. All work together to the same goal. Make sure there's consistent messaging. Make sure you are doing what you can to build your brand. look, Google wants to rank brands, and so often on social we see people talking about why is Google ranking Forbes? Why is Google ranking another big brand? Look, it's because consumers click on brands. We all click on results where we're familiar with the brand. Would you click on, and I think, the example I was talking about this last week with someone was when Forbes Advisor was ranking for best CBD gummies. Honestly, if you were a consumer, would you click on Forbes or would you click on Bob's CBD blog? You would click on Forbes because it's a brand you're familiar with. That is why brands rank on the SERPs. Build your brand. That is long term. You can't build a brand overnight, but it also can't be taken away from you. And the third one is to understand and keep an eye on how the SERPs are shifting. I showed so many different SERP features. Look at not just AI overviews, but also things like the organic merchant listings, the product listings. Keep so up to date with how your SERP looks and think about learn how you can rank in them. And the bigger change is brand. Look, as we go forward, Google can't take brand away from any of us. It will try and take away rankings. It will try and take away traffic. It can't take away brand and reputation. And interestingly, the next question about what are the best practices to optimize a website for GEO, generative engine optimization. Look, I actually don't believe they're too far removed from SEO done well. Brand, 100%. Building a brand, building a reputation. They are the signals that every new model we see, every update we see to these generative engines they're deeply rooted in rewarding brands. I saw a study a couple of days ago, which was done by a guy over in the US who does a lot with SaaS companies, that was showing a correlation between brand searches and visibility this was in LLMs. Again, we're coming back to this same point: build a brand, build the result that people trust, that people want to click on. Those things will carry over into this new era of AI search as well. Next one, for a website that isn't ranking on Google, how fast could it climb to the top if doing SEO the way you explained? It depends. And I know that feels like the cop-out answer, but are we talking a brand new site that's just launched? Are we talking an established site? I do not buy this narrative that SEO takes 6 to 12 months to drive results. I've seen big results happen in SEO in 2 or 3 days on an established site that otherwise deserves to rank. Now, I'm going to assume here that this isn't a brand new website. If it is a brand new website, then you've got to build your authority, build your reputation, earn the right to rank. It can take 2 years for a brand new site to really gain traction. That's not a bad SEO. That is just the reality that you have to build this brand, this trusted source. You can show for longer tail, lower competition terms much, much faster. Of course you can. But if we're talking those real money makers, for a new site, it's going to take time. Doing what I explained on an established site, you could see results in weeks, not even months. If you figure out why you're not ranking and roll that out onto a site that already otherwise deserves to rank, it's rapid. Sites like HubSpot and SEMrush have lost 50-60% of their organic traffic. Topical authority seems to be a thing. Thoughts? I love this question. Okay, so that's you. I love, Alex, I love this question. For the simple reason, it is a controversial topic, and my take on this, and I've got a lot of thoughts on this. The honest answer is that these sites abused their position. They abused their ability to rank for queries that had nothing to do with their audience. They strayed too far. And in terms of topical authority, I shared some insights there on Site Focus Score, which came out of the algorithm leak last year. Honestly, the pages that these brands lost traffic on were so far removed from who they are and what they do. If you were having a conversation in person about SEMrush or HubSpot, you would not talk about these topics. Things like how to write a certain emoji. You would not talk about these things in the context of SEMrush. They did. So again, what I think here is that this, let's call it unrelated content, content that was focused on search engines, not users. It dragged the whole site quality down. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about site authority as a ranking factor. I'm absolutely not talking about DA or DR. But that whole perception of a site, if 60, 70% of a site's content is irrelevant to who they are and what they do, the search engines lose focus. And when you get into deep into the weeds of understanding how Google measures these things, it's vector embeddings and cosine similarity. When you start to understand how they work, they are Google's taking content and translating it into a numerical sequence, often 158 characters, numerical characters possibly. It's a lot. And they are able to then compare what's the distance between these if plotted on a vector graph. So it makes sense that this core topical authority, this core site middle, is so hard to distinguish. It worked for so long, and this is the danger of things like AI content. It works today, probably work tomorrow, but long term. Are there people at HubSpot and SEMrush going, we followed a bit of a trend and we abused our position? 100%. It's not for me or you to sit here and say it was a mistake. They probably made a shit ton of money for a long time off that. Look, I'm not... Pardon? What a shame, yeah. But I think, you look at someone like SEMrush and they were going into an IPO. They were floating on the New York Stock Exchange. Would you have done it? Maybe, maybe not. It's the same what Casper said before about, we all know when we build spammy and manipulative links, they will work for a little bit. They won't work long term. Look, it's not my place to say whether brands should or shouldn't do that, but it's knowing the risks. And I think the big thing, same with spamming the web with AI content, look back 2 years, 3 years, and we saw a massive, massive wave of bloggers doing very, very, very well. Now, I had sites that did very well. Those sites got hit the same way as every other content site. As an experienced SEO, I knew the risks. I knew there was a narrow window to drive 300,000-400,000 visitors a month and monetize that with ads. I didn't build a business on it. I took a few nice holidays. I did quite well, but I knew it would come to an end. It's like spammy link building did with Penguin. But too many people who did it take a step backwards afterwards and go, shit, we didn't see that coming. Those of us who've been through this before, those of us with experience, we knew damn well that you should not be able to take a site from nothing to 100,000 sessions organically in 3 months. It just should not work like that. If something's easy, it's too good to be true. Topical authority is a thing. Just be careful and remember your users at the core of it. And then the last one, how do you improve or maintain? Yeah, if that is your question, feel free to come over and I will happy to chat. Otherwise, thank you very much.